All right, lesson number 3, parts of a sign. Lesson number 3, parts of a sign. Sign language, like other languages, contains certain elements of language that are used to form signs communications. It is very important that we use all of the elements and use them properly to ensure the message is spoken accurately and faithfully. Like the word in spoken languages, the most basic element in sign languages is the sign. A sign is made up of 5 parts, though these parts are as follows. Now, before we talk about the parts, how important is it in any language that we use every element properly? What happens if you take English or Swahili? You have the words, but you disregard grammar. Do you have a clear message? No. How many of you have ever received a text message from a deaf person? No one? Not yet? Oh, you have?
Not a text.
Not a text?
We chat.
Oh, you chatted. Was it clear?
Not so.
Not so? One of the things that is difficult for new sign language students and people who have no interaction with sign language is when they receive text messages or communications from the deaf. The reason is you have to learn to think like they think and understand what they're trying to say and within the grammar of KSL. When you are not familiar, you can look at the message and it's nothing more than jumbled words. You have to have the understanding of the grammar behind it. What about spoken languages as we use pronunciation or as we use inflection? Chinese is the world's most difficult language. And you know what makes Chinese so difficult to learn and to speak? Is the inflection required when you speak the words. Because as you go up or down in pitch, it changes the meaning. And so when it's written, the words are exactly the same spelling. But when you speak it, at this portion, this vowel, you go up, and this vowel, you go down. It's the same vowel, it's just all in the pitch of the voice. Okay? Changes the entire meaning. Sign language is the same way. If we don't sign it properly, we end up with confusion. Okay? Right now, to be honest, some of your signs are confusing. Okay? But you're improving. There are others, let's be very honest. When they sign, I have no idea what they say. Okay? I have no idea. I look to the deaf and say, did you understand them? No. What do we do? Okay. That's all we can do. Alright? It's very important when using sign language, we use it properly and we use the full range of communicative elements in the language. Now, the 5 parts of a sign, you need to know these. You should know these as well as you know your face in the mirror. Okay? I understand some of us don't like looking in the mirror. Doesn't change the truth. We need to know it. Okay? First, the first part of a sign is the handshake. We are familiar with handshakes from lesson 1. Handshake is the shape of your hand that is used to create the sign. Now listen, if you change any one of these 5 elements, you can change the sign or you can change it to mean nothing, okay? Or to mean something you had no intention of meaning. So we have the 5 parts. The handshake. All signs use a particular handshape. When the handshape of the sign is changed, the meaning of the sign will be changed. It may even become meaningless. It is important to know the names of the various handshapes and how to form them, as these names will be used frequently. Some common handshapes that are used in KSL are as follows. The first we have is the what handshake? Now everybody, do you know an A handshake? What is an A handshake? Our good old friend, the A. Amen? We like the A handshake. I hope you like the A handshake now, right? You're friends with this one? Good. Because this is going to be your best friend. It's a good starting place for describing many handshapes that we develop. Alright? The A handshake. Others include the claw. The claw. Now you say, what is the claw? Take your hand, stretch it wide, now claw. You know, like, you ever joke with girls about how they cat fight? Yeah, the claw. Now, when will we ever use the claw handshake? Well, one example of claw handshake is when we use the sign for angry, mad. All right? Or there's this one. This is more than wrath. All right? The claw. Now, what the claw usually shows is because the tension in your digits and your fingers, your hand, it shows that emphasis on the tension of the body, the anger, all right? So we have the claw handshake. Next, we have the good old extended finger handshake we all know and love, right? You'll learn this one a lot these next 2 weeks, okay? I promise you right now, these simple signs today are going to make you crazy over the next 2 weeks. Because it's not just the handshake, it gets more complicated, okay? The extended finger, our friend. We have the flat handshake. Ah, yes, the nice old flat handshake. A good friend of ours will be using a lot this week. We have the V. Now, what might we use the V? Well, we have the V handshake for signs such as see. You see something or you see something, all right? Or if we want to show how someone is being critical of another, all right? All right, what does that mean? I'm looking you up and down like, all right? The V handshake. Next we have the bent V handshake. The bent V handshake. Now, we use this one sometimes if we're doing, maybe instead of this, but someone is really just critiquing a person, examining, all right? This is more of a friendly, just looking over, but this is a more in-depth, searching, analyzing, all right? So we have the V, the bent V. Now, in addition to handshake, now we go from handshake to movement. This is a second part of a sign. The second part of a sign. Now, movement is simply the action, okay? It is simply the action that we apply to a handshake to create the sign. Now, changing the movement of a sign will change the meaning of that sign and should be avoided. There are different movements used in KSL, such as we have the circular. Now, this is an M with the circular movement, right? Make sure we have an M there, brother. All right. Palms forward, and M. Monday. This is actually one way to say Monday. This is the other way to say Monday. Okay? So, you have Monday or you have Monday. Now, what happens if we do this? Million. You know that one, right? Do we see how important the movement is? You say, oh, we'll meet together on Monday. Million, meet will. You'll meet a million what? Okay? Just forgetting the movement changes the entire meaning. All right? So we have the circular, such as this. We have vertical movements, such as, for vertical movements, we have high, low, high and low. What if you do this? Nothing. Low goes down, high goes up. What if you go nothing? Okay? So the movement is important, the vertical. We have horizontal, side to side, front to back type movements, such as the sign for move. Could you imagine trying to say move without moving? That doesn't make sense. You move. You move. Now, we have movement, all right? Then we have directional. This is from a specific point to another specific point. Examples of this include, now directional we're talking about in reference in our sign space. We have such as, you give me, or I'll give you, okay? If I'm going to give it to Michelle, I'm not going to go, I'm looking at her, I'm talking to her, but I'm giving it to Mochigo. Do we see? We have that direction, okay? And so we have that as well. Also, we have directional in our sign space, dealing with parts of the body, other areas, such as the sign for Lord. L, shoulder to hip bone. Why he comes back for sign language class every week, I don't know. But he usually says gone though. So we have L, Lord. Now, just as an example, what if we change the handshake? What if we go from Lord and we go M, then we have Messiah. Messiah. Make sure you have an M. Messiah. Alright? What if we go with a K? Kings. Very good. What if we go Queen with a Q? Queen. What if we have a P? Prince or princess. Do we see how it's important? We only change one of the 5 elements and we have an entirely different meaning. Okay? So we must keep in mind these elements, the handshake, the movements, and next we come to palm position. Now, let me just say this. If there's one aspect of making signs that more students have problem with than any other, it's palm position. Alright? And it starts from day 1. When you're finger spelling, how many times have you seen this? Where's the palm going? Back and forth, every which way, right? That's why I'm very strict on making sure your palm is in the right direction, because you develop the discipline from day 1. A, B, C, D, E, F, and so forth. Right? Your palm position is very forward. Now, palm position is the direction your palm is facing when making the sign. This is an important factor in signing the sign properly. An important factor. When you change the palm position of a sign, it will change the meaning of that sign. Now, we're going to see this in just a second with these examples. The first palm position we have is forward. Right? Away from your body. Forward. Okay? The next we have inward. Right? Then we have palm facing palm. Now, how would that be? Can you think of a sign that has palms facing each other? Yeah. Tobe. Okay. Palms are together. Another sign. The sign for with. Your palms are together. What if you did this? Shoes. Alright? All it takes is palm position. You go with, you can go shoes. Alright? All it is palm position that you're changing. Do you see how important these elements are? You change one of the 5 and you change the entire meaning. Now, then we have palms together, facing one another, like this. Now, this one we have for a person. We talked about this, prayer. Now, what are some examples that we use for this? Well, let's just talk about one of the simple ones. You're going to learn these signs today anyway. We have, first of all, the sign for my. Open handshake. Open handshake. How would you sign my or mine? Pretty simple, right? Now, what am I saying now? Your. Singular. Your singular. One person. Okay? What if I do this? His, her, or it. Okay? See, I'm looking what I'm talking about. What am I changing? Position of the palm only. I'm not changing the movement. I'm not changing the handshake. Only the palm position. Okay? Next, after palm position, we have location. Location also is very important, as are all the elements. Okay? Location simply is the area of signing used to create the sign. Now, it is important to pay attention to the location used for particular signs, especially considering that a particular place can be used to represent a person, a place, or an event. In addition, signs that have specific locations must use this location, else the meaning will change. Now, let me give you an example. Alright? There's a sign that you'll learn in lesson 4, you'll learn it today if you take note. It's simply this. The A handshake. Start here at your cheek, a little bit higher, slide down. Just run your thumb along your jawbone right there. The sign for aunt. Okay? Quite simple, right? Now, The problem is sometimes new students think anywhere on the head is okay, so they'll go. Problem is, you just signed adultery. Yeah. So you think, oh, it's okay, it's all on the face, right? No, it's not okay. This is your aunt, and this is your adulteress. Or adulterer, depending on your gender, okay? Do we see how important location is? All right? Now, it gets a little bit more complicated as we move along, because we're going to have times where we give people who are not present a place in our signing space. And so we might be talking about 3 people, one standing here, one standing there, and one standing there, right? Well, if you get them confused and all of a sudden who was here, now you're pointing over there, what happens to the listener? They're going to be confused, right? So it's very important we take note of location. Now, let's talk about sign space. How we should sign, where we should sign. Sign space is that area around your body in which signs are created. The normal signing area, or sign space, is considered to be defined by the following boundaries. Now, first of all, the first boundary we have is from the top of your head to your waist or belt line. Now, everybody do this? Okay, good. You know where the top of your head is. All right, let's start. Next, where's your waistline? I'm not talking about this way, I'm talking about this way, okay? All right? This is your vertical range, okay? Now, we'll go a little bit higher, sites such as heaven, university, okay? They go above our head a little bit. We don't want to be up here, typically, all right? So somewhere within this range for the vertical. Now, how about side to side? You know where your shoulders are, right? Put your hands right on the shoulders, okay? Now, just go a little bit wider, drop your hands down. Basically, down the side of your body. Why is it important we stay in this range? Your torso provides a backdrop upon which your signs are written, okay? Now, let's go ahead and just cover this lesson since we can. Dr. Duncan, why don't you make your way up here? You have provided a good example today, all right? I'll make use of one of either, probably Larry, but possibly Andrew. Come over here. Don't be shy. Camera loves. Okay? Now, I want you to notice something. Hold out your hand. What's the difference between my hand and his hand? His is dark, right? I mean, kids from the time they can talk, that's one of the first things they notice. Right? That's why everywhere I go here, Zumba, Zumba. If I'm with someone else, I tell them, hey, today you're doing Zumba, all right? You answer. I'm not answering today. The difference is simply color. But the difference of the skin tones has a great importance in signing, all right? And the reason is this. Take your hand and place it in front of my chest. Are the color of my shirt and the color of his hand similar? Almost. Put it in front of your own chest. Do you see his hand more clearly now? Do you see the difference? Contrast to this. If I take my hand and put it in front of his chest, what do you see? It's there, but is it as clear? Not as clear as if I'm moving over here in front of black, okay? Now, what that means is this. You need to learn to start dressing appropriately, okay? If you have dark skin, you want lighter colors for your backdrop. Just like you have a whiteboard, what happens if you have a white marker? The colors that show up best on this type of boards are black and blue, right? Red, not bad. Green gets to be an issue at times. The lighter yellows, what happens there? You lose the contrast, okay? Contrast is very important, all right? So, you need to start thinking about that even now. Even now, start thinking about practicing it, okay? Practicing it. Now, other things we'll talk about later, such as patterns. We'll talk about, different mixtures of, like, pictures or colors, crisscross. What that does is, if you have anything patterned, okay, it breaks up the outline of your hand. Makes it more difficult to see. All right? This is one of the things we deal with. It's one of the challenges we face. Now you say, the deaf wear all kinds of... Yeah, I know, they do. All right? But I want to teach you properly. especially if you have any desire to work toward being interpreting of any sort, even be teaching, you want to be well understood. We start by providing a good backdrop. Okay? Thank you, sir. I'm not saying any of you have messed up. I know we all like different colors and patterns, alright? It's just something to keep in mind. Most of you know my wardrobe. If you look at my closet, it's all solid, 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 solid. And the few shirts I have that are not solid typically are enough to where they still provide a good background. Okay? It's one of the things we face. Welcome to life, amen? So, make sure you have a good backdrop when it comes time for your signing, alright? Now, also, let's look at something else here. We have top to bottom, we have side to side. Now, about how far in front should we sign? Okay? This is sometimes people get problems. New students usually struggle with this. They want to sign right here. Okay? Look, everybody just do this. Touch the heel of your palms just to your torso. Okay? Now, what happens with your shoulders and your elbows? Is your movement free? No, they're stuck. Okay? Most new students, when they sign, they want to sign like this. It's going to make your signs smaller. It's going to make them less distinct. It's going to make your movements more jerky. Okay? It's going to ruin the clarity of your signs. Others sometimes joking around want to sign here. Okay? Problem is, if you're trying to have a conversation with someone, you don't want to hug them. Okay? And you don't want to punch them. Not only that, but when your hands are here, how's your horizontal movement? It's limited more so than if you're closer in. Take your elbows, touch them to your rib cage on the sides. Fingertips out. Okay? Just let them relax near your rib. That's about how far out you want to sign. Okay? In this region right here. Now remember, as we do this, okay, sign space is also something that we have to take in consideration because it's not think of your body, if you would, as a timeline. Okay? Let me just draw you a little picture, as horrible as it might be. Alright? Now, you have a person, your body, standing in here. Alright? If you draw a line right down the middle, along the shoulder blade, straight down. Right here in front of my body is now. Out here in front of my body is future. And behind this line is the past. Okay? And so keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll see signs suggest before. Okay? If you go before, guess what? You didn't say before. Alright? This is dealing with location. Alright? In the signing space. So before is before if it's behind that line. If before is here, why are you offending yourself? You're hot? Okay? We understand. Sign space is a three-dimensional area in which we speak. Alright? So be sure to keep mind of that. Now, we have a note about our sign space. Top to bottom, wider than the shoulders just a little bit, and then from the elbows to the fingertips. Now, are there times that we get outside of our little box? Yes, there are. Okay? There are times that we sign outside of these boundaries. Now, the first is when we are signing to a large crowd. If you're talking to a lot of people, what do you have to do with your voice? If there's a large crowd of people, you raise your voice, right? You wouldn't talk like this. You talk more like this so everyone can hear you and your sound projects well and those in the back aren't deaf, right? Yeah. We raise our voice. How do you talk loudly in sign language? You increase the size of your signs. Okay? For instance, if in this class, and we have the deaf here, it's easy for me to say because everyone can see it clearly. But what if we had 7 rows of deaf and we had 10 chairs wide? One, I have to be elevated a little bit, okay? But even then, it would be going lower. Why? Because this short movement up close is clear. But in the back, it's not going to be clear. All right? So we have to do more dynamic motion. All right? Larger signs. So when we are talking to a large crowd, the largeness of the signs helps those further away see the signs clearly. Secondly, when adding dramatic effects to the signs. Now sometimes a signer wants to add extra emphasis to the sign. This can be done using a combination of facial expressions, non-manual markers, and extending the sign space. Alright? For instance, let's just take the sign hate. The sign hate. Okay? Just hate. Sign hate. Now, how many of you like Parmesan cheese? Anyone here like Parmesan cheese? Anyone? Good. You're blessed. No one here likes it. I don't either. My wife likes Parmesan cheese. If you don't know what it is, it stinks. Okay? Trust me. It stinks. I can't even stand it. If she has it, she's going to eat it with food, I eat in a different room. Because if I smell it, Quisha. I don't want food. I don't want, Quisha. Now, I can say, I hate Parmesan cheese. But that's really an understatement. Okay? When it comes to Parmesan cheese, alright, you see how, what is it? I really hate Parmesan cheese. Especially because it ruins the taste of good meals. Amen? Amen? No, I like other cheese. Don't think I'm a hater of cheese. I like other cheeses. Gouda, mild cheddar, sharp cheddar. I like those. Parmesan is of the devil. Okay? It's of the devil. So I hate Parmesan. Okay? The largest of the sign shows emphasis. Alright? Now as well, we can say, oh, it's small, it's just small. The small, it's little. No. It's big, it's big. How big was it? Okay? Or you go. Alright? Now that's when we go beyond our normal signing space. And it's fun. Alright? So, large crowd. Adding dramatic effects. Thirdly, when speaking loudly or yelling. Have you ever seen deaf get in a fight? You would think they're trying to hit each other because of the proximity of the hands and the signing as they're close, okay? But in all honesty, they're just talking loudly, yelling at each other, alright? One of the good things about sign language, if you were to stand at that door, could you yell and talk to someone at the gate? And they hear you? Most people would have a hard time getting their voice to reach the gate. You know the great thing about sign language? I can talk to the deaf from that doorway. I can yell at them, hurry, you're late for class! From the gate. And I'm not going, they're not going to see that. What am I doing? Okay? Again, yelling, speaking loudly. Now, number 5. This one is, the first 4 are pretty easy, right? Palm position, movement, handshake, location, easy. Now number 5, non-manual markers. This one is one in which I myself struggled a lot. A lot. In fact, my sign language teacher still picks on me about that. Okay? So, non-manual markers are body motions and facial expressions used together with the other 4 parts of a sign to create a sign. Non-manual markers are very important in sign language communication. Without the use of non-manual markers, the meaning of one's signs can be unclear. Using the wrong non-manual marker can result in conveying the wrong message or even a contradictory message. Some examples of common non-manual markers are, first of all, body motions. Body motions. Everyone do this. You've just made your first non-manual marker. What happens if we would take the sign yes? Everyone make it S. You'll see S or A. You just go yes. What happens if you did this? Is the message clear? Why is it not clear? It's contradictory. You're saying yes with your hand, you're going no with your head. Right? Believe it or not, I've seen several sign language students do that already. And we've only been at this for 4 weeks. I saw this the other day. And I said, what did you just say? I said, yes. I said, no. You said, no. They said, no. I said, yes. I said, you're doing this. Okay? Nominal markers. Head up and down. Alright? This is one we do, body motions. Okay? Another, and this is one that we use a lot of times, you'll see here with the deaf. Now, the sign for not yet is this. But most times you'll see this, or you might see bado. They mouth the word bado. Now, most of them don't speak Swahili, but they have picked up the word bado, added the mouth movements to their own. So it's part of their sign, okay? So we have body, okay? Now, remember, motions are as important as we have bado, which is this bado, or we have, alright? Like, for instance, when the husband is at work the next morning, not happy, and the man says, why are you upset? I got home, and I asked his wife, is the food ready? She went, go. What does that mean? It means the kids have been bad all day long, and you better be thankful you're getting a piece of bread with something on it. Alright? Just emphasis, alright? So we have body. This is one of the non-manual markers we use, body motions. Next, we have facial expressions. Facial expressions. These are very important, and these can be a challenge for us, okay? They were for me for a long time. Number one, we have the raised eyebrows. Everybody get your eyebrows up. Get them up. Up. Don't let them get lazy. Keep them up there. Or maybe your face is hurting. You think your face is hurting? Maybe your face is hurting. Don't worry. We'll give you enough practice to keep them up there for a long time. Alright? Let them back down. This is used to indicate a yes, no question. And you say, oh, questions. Yes, we have arrived at last to communication. We're going to start learning yes, no questions. Alright? So if we want to ask a yes, no question, we would have to make sure we include the nominal marker of. Alright? Now, what happens if we just have our eyebrows normal? Not up. What happens? What are we saying? Our yes, no question now becomes a statement. One of the favorite things I like to do to students, I'll say, are you a boy or a girl? And the student will go, okay? That's one of the first things. Then later on I'll ask them, and what did I just say? I said, you are. And they'll go, because they don't understand. You have to remember, you have to watch for. This is part of the development of the person reading the signs, okay? So, yes, no, yes, no. Next, we have the furrowed eyebrows. Now, parents, we have mastered this because of life. Others, not yet blessed with children, you have to learn to work with this, okay? The furrowed eyebrows. Get them down. Get them down. Come on now, Esther. You gotta get those eyebrows down. Now, furrowed eyebrows. Furrowed eyebrows mean what? It means we're asking a question for what, when, where, how much, why. Furrowed eyebrows, okay? If you just go, what's this? Is that a question? I said, why? Why what? There was no question asked, right? So, furrowed eyebrows indicate a WH question, which you'll learn more in just a moment. Pursed lips, such as, This is the question for who? Right? So you have to have eyebrows down and? Alright? Now, if you can't purse your lips, go home and practice. Alright? 500 times a day, I think you'll learn how to purse your lips. Married couples, we can talk about other practice techniques later, okay? Then we have facial expressions used to clarify the degree of what is being said. For instance, we can say, yesterday, the girl, she was mad. Was she really very mad? No. But we say, oh, yesterday, when I arrived home, Mama, what's the difference? This one, this one, tafuta mahali kujificha, naomba Mungu nemeifike kabla kiboko. Alright? We pray grace. Alright? So, body motions, facial expressions, these are all part of non-lineal markers. We'll learn more as we go along. Now, just for an illustration of some of this, some humor. In the first picture we find a waitress asking a deaf man and his hearing wife, hey, what's with the flopping hands? Why are you flopping like a bird? Alright? Hearing people who have no idea of sign language or not familiar with the deaf, they just think people don't understand there's meaning there. There's communication going on. And so the lady explains, my husband is deaf and we're using sign language. Now, here is the ever intelligent waitress saying, oh, I have the perfect thing for you guys. She comes back, and in the third picture we find that she has brought menus in Braille. What is Braille? Braille is the series of writing with dots, raised dots, used by the blind. Now let me ask, does a deaf person need to read with Braille? No. Absolutely, positively, not. But here's the way you're saying, I know, isn't that cool? Look, now that you've learned the 5 parts of the sign, it's imperative that you begin to realize the importance of each and every part. You form your signs according to the direction given, alright? Because if you make any changes, it changes the meaning or it removes all meaning. Now, I've not met a person here in this situation, but in the States. I met a lady who was deaf and blind. She was fully deaf and fully blind. You know how she communicated? With sign language. And what she would do is, as someone was interpreting, she would take her hands and place her hands on top of the interpreter's hands. And she would, in her mind, follow the movements, the hand shapes, the direction, everything we talked about here of the interpreter's signs, and she would understand it perfectly without seeing the sign. That's the power of sign language. But if you start getting lazy and changing your form and changing this and that, what happens? You lose communication, right? Now, I know you've been waiting for this next part, and so put your books away. It's time for you to free your hands of any burden and let us have some fun. Oh, good. Doc Tardy's already excited. Good. That or you're trying to warm your fingers up.